Hi, and welcome to the Wellness Blueprint with Tim and Christy, where you are empowered to change your health.
Welcome. It's our third podcast.
Yay.
Well, before we get started, I just want to let you know that Henry has emailed me.
What'd Henry say?
Well, he wanted more input in the Wellness Blueprint podcast. And so I told him to email me. So he did. And so he thinks that we need to start sharing more information about health conditions.
Okay, well, I can agree with Henry
I
on that.
told him that was our plan for the third episode.
Well, we told him we were going to bring him along for the ride, so let's just listen to what Henry's got to say.
Well, he's getting to be a little bit bossy, but whatever.
Okay, well, all right.
He does want to talk about disc problems today. He thinks that is what we should start with, since that is the most common complaint in our office.
Well, since we're on that subject, when have you ever had trouble putting on your socks due to back pain? That's been me this week. You know, we started off talking about how I got into chiropractic and my father having back problems. And then lo and behold, we go down to Houston. I'm climbing stairs, carrying too much weight. Should have known it. But anyway, it happens. And so all of a sudden I started having some back complaints. The good thing is that we have all the tools here to deal with the majority of disc problems. There's obviously some that, you know, have to go on and do surgery, but for the majority of people. So I'm very thankful for that.
Did you mention that you've been off work all week?
No, so I took off work and I've been coming in getting decompression, which we're going to talk about today, and some other therapies that we may or may not talk about today, but we'll eventually get to it in the next segments if we don't get to it today.
Well, I think we've all been there with back pain. And, you know, they say 80% of people, of the population, will have back pain at some point in their life. So, hey, you're there.
I'm there. And you know what? I told my wife, I said, this is probably a good thing, because sometimes you go along and you're treating people, and I've got more compassion for them. I mean, because this interrupts your whole world. I mean, if you can't put your socks on, you know, that's one thing, but it really interrupts life. And I think that's really the biggest thing. We a lot of times talk about the need behind the need, because when someone comes in and they're like, my back's killing me and I've got a golf tournament this weekend, it's really about it's interrupting their lifestyle. And so I got to find out what that's like. And so I think I'm going to have a little bit more compassion for those
patients,
for those that come in. I thought I did, but when you experience it firsthand, it makes a big difference.
It's different. It makes it different, because, I mean, when it stops the things that you like to do in your daily living, or, you know, keeps you from going to work. That's what happened with you. And it interrupts everything. So got to get it taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, the little things. I could just make a list right now, you know, getting in and out of my truck, just bending over, you know, and I did try to come in and work on some patients, and then I just said, I can't do this. You know, it was too painful. And so it was a good lesson to me, because now I understand more what the patients go through when they come in, if they cough or sneeze and they have pain, if they're just trying to bend over, or like I said, just putting on your socks becomes a big issue.
I saw several people today that said, I couldn't put on my socks today because my back hurt so bad. So you're not the only one.
You know, you see a lot of people out there with house shoes on these days, and I thought it was just a fad. Maybe they're having
back pain,
back problems. Okay, so if you're having trouble putting on your socks and you're wearing house shoes, you might want to check us out.
Yeah, you might want to continue to watch the rest of this episode. So I think a lot of people, when they get in this predicament where they, you know, have a lot of pain, they don't know what to do. So we're going to go step by step on what some of the problems that could be causing your back pain, things that you should do right away, and things that you should be asking to have done just for the diagnosis part.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. So it starts off in our office by taking a good case history.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times when you tell us different things about your movement, bending forward, bending side to side, we get a better idea. And then, of course, we check reflexes and muscle strength and things of that nature. So we can really isolate, is there a particular disc that's involved, or is there spasm involved? So there's a lot of things that we pick up from the history, a lot of things that we pick up from the exam. What else do we use?
Well, I know a lot of chiropractors don't take x-rays and a lot do. So everybody practices differently, but in our practice, it's just a general practice to take x-rays of almost everybody if it's needed, just to see. That's the only way you can see on the inside and what's going on. So I think, the next thing is after we do an exam, if x-rays are needed, which in most cases, if you're coming in with a back pain that you're rating a 8 out of 10, you're going to get an x-ray. And
Sure.
if it were me, I would want one, because
Yes.
I would want you to, the doctor to know what they're looking at before they start treatment. So that's one of the major things is examination and followed with x-rays.
How often have we looked at an x-ray and we find things that are important for us to treat a certain way?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, there's different methods of treatment. We
Mm-hmm.
use our hands, we use instruments. And so sometimes you'll see things, you'll see a compression
Mm-hmm.
fracture. We won't get into a lot of fancy words
Mm-hmm.
on conditions. We don't want to bog you down with that. But if you've got a vertebra that's slipping forward, you may not be a candidate for some of the procedures. So it's good to
Right.
know just by taking the x-ray. Another thing that is very unique is we do an analysis by computer on the x-ray. So we do measurements. We look at the hip balance, because that can be a problem.
Pelvic rotation.
Pelvic rotation. So there's all these factors that we can pick up with x-ray that we don't necessarily get from an MRI.
Right. I do order, and I know that you do too, if you have sciatic pain, which that is a pinched nerve pain that's going down your leg, or if you have a pinched nerve in your neck going down your arm, more than likely I'm going to recommend an MRI, because most of the time, if I'm seeing someone with sciatica for the first time, they've had it for a while.
Yes.
And they've tried other avenues. And if they haven't had an MRI, that's my next go-to, is we want to get an MRI to see if there is a disc problem, see if you have any spinal canal stenosis, foraminal encroachment, and other things that we can tell on MRI that we can't really see on x-ray.
I'm going to give you a quiz right now.
Oh, no.
Yes.
I don't like quizzes.
No, this is the easy quiz.
Oh, that's what you say.
How many patients come in and say, I was told that I have a disc bulge. They saw it on x-ray.
I see that a lot.
Yeah. Can you do
Yes.
that?
No.
Yeah. You passed the quiz. See?
Yay!
Yeah. So we hear that a lot, where people come in and say, yeah, I was told that I have a disc bulge. Now,
I think a lot of, probably a lot of doctors try to diagnose that off symptoms,
yes.
because the majority of sciatica, patients it's going to be coming from a disc problem. Not
Right.
all of it, every single one of them, but the majority, I would say, has a disc issue.
Yeah. So we try to tell them, yes, you can see disc degeneration, just like a tire on a car that's wearing. If you have normal, and we call this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So you can see disc degeneration, but you really can't see a disc bulge or a protrusion or a
Yes.
herniation. That's where that MRI comes in.
Yes, it's very helpful. And, I order several per week.
Yes,
Most every week, I'm ordering several MRIs. I think they're very useful, and they give more detail and more information than an x-ray does. And so, x-ray has its place, but MRI shows a lot more.
Well, it's more common than people realize as well. Statistics show that 30% of, get this, 30-year-olds have a disc bulge. And those are those that are asymptomatic. In other words, they don't have a symptom, but in studies, they show that 30% of 30-year-olds have a disc bulge. Now, here's the takeaway on that. Going forward, if you've got a disc bulge and you don't even know that you have it, and it's not giving you any particular symptoms, just think about what may happen over the next weeks or months or years going forward, that starts to show itself into symptoms. Or like me, you couldn't put your socks on. So I think that's pretty interesting because a lot of people may think, well, I'm not going to have a disc bulge. But as time goes by, the odds of having a disc bulge or protrusion become higher and higher as you age.
Remember, they say 80% of the population will have back pain at some point. So, I mean, it's just a matter of you most of the time when it's going to happen.
Yes.
So
let's talk a little bit about some of the unique training that we have had, because I've thought a lot about our unique office, and of course, education is important. We both went to chiropractic college, and that was our starting point. But beyond that, you have education and equipment that you continue to learn about. So we go every year and we get certification in disc care because we're a part of a group, what I call an elite group called Disc Centers of America. And we've been with them about 6 years. So every year we go down to Florida and we do certification with them. I think that has been invaluable to us over the last 6 years because we've treated disc cases for a long time. It really changed our trajectory when we joined them.
I agree. They gave us a lot of different treatment options that we weren't aware of.
Yes.
So, and even just the decompression tables alone, like, showed us that there is a difference between traction tables.
Yeah, so, I think maybe next segment we'll go into the differences between decompression and traction. I do want to tell a funny story.
Okay.
So, of course, for years, Lynn would travel with me when I would go to different seminars and such. And so, 6 or so years ago, we were flying down to Florida, and on the plane, she turns to me and says, "What are we flying down here for?" And I said, "We're going to go and listen to this group on decompression, and they're getting really good results. They have several hundred doctors that are part of this group across the United States. And we're just go down and listen to them and see what they have to say about decompression." And she said, "Okay, we're not signing up for anything. We're not buying anything." And I thought that is hilarious. And so, because she has followed our trends through the years and all the different avenues that we have gone through.
She knew you were going down there to buy something.
Well, you know what? We ended up joining that group, and we've been with them, like I said, for 6 years. And then, of course, we invested in a lot more equipment, but she saw the value once we got down there and started to understand what they had to offer us.
I think that has helped this practice more than anything that we've done in the past. Like, I think it's helped the most people because I think low back pain is what the majority of people complain about.
Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to go down there, and I think it was a payoff, was that we now are seeing more difficult cases than we ever did before, because once you start getting more training and understanding what's going on with these disc cases, and then having the equipment to help them, we're seeing more difficult cases than we ever did before.
Yes, and helping a lot of people along the way.
Yes, definitely helping a lot of people. And that's where it's at, is when we spend time and money and effort, we're doing that because we desire to make a bigger difference with patients' lives. And so you have to continue to grow, you have to continue to learn. And so I'm excited about the contacts we've made along the way as well, because we have other chiropractors, other MDs, radiologists that now we connect with, and we pick their brains.
Yes.
And they pick our brains.
Yes.
So we get calls from other doctors, but I think it's neat when you're plugged into a group like that where I can call a doctor down in Florida and say, "What are you doing with a case like this?" And you can help more people when you have that network.
Absolutely. So.
Well, is there anything else we need to talk about on this segment? Or save
no,
that for the next?
I think the next episode we'll talk about what an actual disc problem is and what you can do to fix it.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you on the Wellness Blueprint with Tim
and Christy.